Steve, we mentioned the number 1 player in the class, but the number 2 player is safety KJ Bolden. This season, he has visited Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, and South Carolina, been all over the place. What's the latest with him?
Well, I talked to KJ this week, and he said he's been really impressed with Kirby Smart and what he's continuing to do at Georgia. He's loving what he's seeing at Ohio State. He's going to be back up in Columbus for the Michigan game. He started the season at Ohio State, attending their win at Notre Dame. So bookending those college visits, he's been to some of the best games in the country this year. LSU, Brian Kelly, Cortez Hankton, talked about the great job they're doing, and he can't wait to get back to Baton Rouge. And KJ Bolden, he's the number 1 safety in the country. But some of these schools love him at wideout, and he could definitely play on that side of the ball on Saturdays as well.
Steve, let's stay on the defensive side of the ball. Sammy Brown is going to be one of the more coveted linebackers in the 2024 class out of the state of Georgia, number 6 overall in the top 24/7 refresh. What's the latest on Sammy Brown?
Well, he's got his eye on several schools as well. It's early for a lot of these young men in their processes, but Clemson and Georgia are the 2 that I believe are in the strongest position to land the top-ranked linebacker in the country. He's been attending camps at Clemson for a very long time. They were the first prospect that they offered a scholarship to in the 2024 cycle. Normally they wait till June 1 to offer scholarships to players, but they hit Sammy early on that because they know him so well. They've had him to campus so many times. He's been to 2 games this fall, so no question he loves Clemson, loves new defensive coordinator Coach Goodwin, and of course Dabo Swinney, but he's also extremely high on Georgia, in my opinion. I don't know if he has a better relationship with a college coach than Bulldogs defensive coordinator Glenn Schumann. And I think that with what he's seen on the field with Georgia and the way they've recruited, I think that also looks very enticing to Sammy as well. There are some other contenders. You got Tennessee, got Ohio State and Notre Dame. He wanted to be at Oklahoma this weekend for Bedlam, but not able to make it out there. But we talked about those relationships he has with Clemson. You know, some of those obviously carried over to Oklahoma when Brent Venables moved to the corner office in Norman.
Another 5-star, Williams and Nwaneri, has been busy this season, stacking up visits to Arkansas, Kansas, Mizzou, Oklahoma. So where does his recruitment stand right now?
Well, Oklahoma, Oregon, Missouri, Michigan State, Tennessee, Alabama, those were the programs that he said he's communicating with the most. And I think it's super early in his process. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I could really peg a leader in that one. But obviously he's going to be one of the more coveted players in the country. So I look for that one to really get exciting with his process heating up.
Steve, you've mentioned Oklahoma quite a bit. You could see that Brent Venables is making an impact in the 2024 class. Specifically, David Stone is another player that I think right now the Sooners lead in the crystal ball. What makes Oklahoma a strong contender right now for David Stone?
Well, he's an Oklahoma native that will be back for the Bedlam game this weekend, a massive recruiting weekend at Oklahoma that's also going to include 5-star David DJ Hicks, Notre Dame safety commit Peyton Bowen, who they've been trying to flip for a long time. But David Stone, he's certainly a prospect that they'll be super excited to see alongside those elite players in 2023. He was most recently in East Lansing for a Michigan State game. I know he loves Mel Tucker and that staff and what they're trying to build in East Lansing. So those are 2 programs I know are doing well early. He also mentioned Miami and Texas A&M as schools that he's really interested early. He's got an upcoming visit to Georgia planned. He's going to go to Tennessee in January. So a lot of early contenders for David Stone.
All right, I think you can sense a trend here. The 5-star discussion continues with wide receiver Jeremiah Smith out of Florida. Ohio State, crystal ball favorite right now. You put one in from him, Steve. Why is that?
I think that they set the tone early with him getting in the campus several times, and I think the relationship with Brian Hartline, Coach Hartline's track record of developing wide receivers, and Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson's offense collectively have put Ohio State in the driver's seat for Jeremiah Smith. Look, if you're the starting wideout at Ohio State, and I mean that in a plural way, you have a good chance of hearing your name in the first round, and I think that's very enticing to Smith. He's still talking to other programs. Miami's a program that's really pushing hard, and he was back there a couple weekends ago. But Ohio State has set the tone there, and I think it's up to the rest of America to prove to Jeremiah that they got something better to offer than Ohio State, and that's going to be hard to do with what they're doing offensively. And again, Brian Hartline and the knack he has for not only developing his players, but building great relationships with them. You guys saw that touchdown by Cameron Babb there, all the ACL tears, Ohio State sticking with him, former All-American that's been through so much, gets in the end zone there for Ohio State last weekend. That was a very genuine emotional deal for the Ohio State locker room there. And I think those are all reasons why it adds up for Jeremiah Smith and his love for Ohio State.
Steve, staying on that 5-star trend, Clemson, Georgia, and Notre Dame are all in the mix right now as front runners for Mike Matthews, the #1 athlete in the 24 class. When do you expect him to come off the board?
I don't think he's in any hurry. He's seen Georgia play 3 times this year, though, and I know he's extremely excited about the Bulldogs. Clemson is another offer that he was super excited to get. Had a really good visit to Alabama as well, blown away by talking to Nick Saban. Notre Dame was the first program to really identify Mike Matthews a lot earlier than every other powerhouse program as a big-time dude and prioritize them. So I would say his relationship with these contenders regarding Notre Dame is the longest. He got a chance to visit there last year, and I think that really resonated with him. And USC took a summer visit out to see the Trojans and had a really good time too. Mike Matthews, his parents both were Division I college basketball players, and his dad's in the Hall of Fame over at where he played his college basketball. I want to say it was Stony Brook where he played, Siena, excuse me. So he comes from great bloodlines, parents that have been through it, and he's also a really good basketball player that has an offer from Mississippi State on the hardwood. But this recruitment's wide open, and like we talked about with KJ Bolden, he could shine in the secondary or at wide receiver on the next level.
It's pretty early for these class of 2024 prospects, but we appreciate you shining a little bit of a light on the early recruiting process for them. Steve, thank you so much for all your great insight. Be sure to check out new episodes of the Wiltfong Whip Around dropping every Monday and Friday on the 24/7 Sports YouTube page.